Today we are going to study about the reason why I can produce the sound and because of which you can hear me through this particular video recording. So here my skull is there at this level, below it is my larynx, this one. Today we are going to study about the larynx and I remove my skull. So this is the larynx, how it is visible from the front or the anterior view. To understand it better, I have drawn it on the board and this is how it looks. If you feel the larynx, in this class we are going to study about the different structures which we can feel on the larynx. So if you feel the larynx like this, you can have one perturbation here, then a gap, second uprising here, then a third one and then continuous tube-like structure. So the first thing which you can touch here, which is below the tongue, is this structure which is a bone. So the larynx has a structural framework made up of one bone and 6 cartilages. 3 paired, 3 unpaired. So this one bone which you can feel on the top of it is the hyoid bone. So this bone is the hyoid bone. Below it here, under the tongue is the hyoid bone. As you come down, below it you can see the notch, or there will be a notch like this, very prominent in males because it's a 90 degree, 120 degree in females, so it looks round. So whatever prominence you see here, also known as the Adam's apple, is the unpaired cartilage, largest cartilage known as the thyroid cartilage. So this entire huge piece of cartilage which you see here is the thyroid cartilage, and the notch which you feel on or which you can see on a male's neck is this thyroid notch. Below this is a single ring-like cartilage which is known as the cricoid cartilage. So if you see here, this is the cricoid cartilage. So these are the 3 things which can be felt on the anterior part of the larynx. The first is the hyoid bone. Above it is the tongue. So the tongue is attached to the hyoid bone posteriorly. Tongue is attached to the hyoid bone and the larynx is suspended by the hyoid bone. So the hyoid bone is important. Hyoid bone is there. We have the thyroid cartilage, because of which you have this Adam's apple or the thyroid notch here. And below it is the cricoid cartilage. The other things which you can feel is the rings of the windpipe or the trachea. They are not part of the larynx. The thing which you cannot feel but you can see from the anterior part of the larynx is a single cartilage known as the epiglottis. So if you do a stroboscopy, the epiglottis would also be visible. To have a better view on this wood, I have tried amplifying my larynx. So you can see here the epiglottis in red. This was the epiglottis in red. Below it is the hyoid bone, the single bone which can be felt. It's in purple here. You can see it in purple. Then there will be membrane. We are not bothering about it now because we are studying the cartilages and the bone. Below it in yellow would be the thyroid cartilage, or the largest cartilage which is marked in yellow here. Has the notch here or the thyroid notch here. Below it we have a blue color cartilage, a ring-like cartilage known as the cricoid cartilage. And below it are the tracheal rings which are not part of the larynx. If I turn to one side and try seeing how my larynx looks, or try feeling it, then these are the things which can be felt on the larynx. So to have this particular look, I have to cut open myself from this side. Okay, so this would be the look, and this is known as the sagittal view. The other one was the anterior view. The sagittal view. If I see it from behind like this, it will be the posterior view. So now I am seeing the sagittal view. In the sagittal view, the same thing would be visible. The huge thyroid cartilage would be visible, and this is the thyroid cartilage. This is the thyroid cartilage. The huge thyroid from here. It will be taking out the shape line from here to here. The huge thyroid cartilage is very much visible. This is the thyroid cartilage. The second cartilage which was prominent is the The cricoid cartilage, the shaded portion is the cricoid cartilage, which is the ring-shaped cartilage, and then above the thyroid cartilage is the hyoid bone, which could be felt and is drawn in purple. The hyoid bone. So this is the hyoid bone. And as I said, there will be another single cartilage known as the epiglottis, which is also visible. The significance of seeing this sagittal structure is that in this structure we can see two other cartilages, pyramid-shaped cartilages known as the arytenoid cartilage, one on this side, other on the other side. These pyramid-shaped cartilages give anchor to two strips of muscles known as the vocal folds, and it is this two structures, it is these vocal folds which vibrate to give the source of sound to the voice based upon which I am speaking. So what happens in it? Or we understand the presence of the vocal folds better. So here, as I show, this is the cricoid cartilage which is shaded. On it, we have these pyramid-shaped cartilages known as the arytenoid cartilage, one this side, other that side. From one of the face of the arytenoid cartilage originates the vocal fold, which again gets attached itself to the thyroid cartilage in the front. So two vocal folds, one from this side and the other from this side. Now what happens? Because there are two vocal folds, it has a gap in between, which is known as the glottis. The beauty is this particular glottis and the Bernoulli's principle. What happens? To create a sound, we need to have a vibration first. The second thing is that this vibration should be loud enough to be heard. Now to create this particular sound based upon which I am speaking, I push air from below. The air from the lungs comes up. As it comes up through the cricoid cartilage, it passes through the vocal folds and then comes out from the mouth to the nose. As it passes up, it creates, so the velocity is v. If I want to speak, what I do? I push so that the velocity increases. As the velocity increases, the pressure P between the vocal folds drop. As the pressures drop, as per the Bernoulli's principle, both the vocal folds will come closer. As they come closer, again the pathway is blocked. The pressure P increases, pushes apart the vocal fold. So what happens? The vocal folds are closed, air pressure comes up, the vocal folds get open, and again the air pressure drops in between, close, open, close, open, close, open. So there is a constant vibration which happens. This vibration is in form of a murmur, which is in turn amplified by the cavities above. And the cavities are the pharyngeal cavity, the oral cavity, the nasal cavity. So depending upon which cavity is used, for example for the oral cavity and the pharyngeal cavity is used, and for the pharyngeal cavity and the nasal cavity is used. Based upon which cavity is used, the quality of the sound is defined and decided. This is how we hear speech, and this is how the basic source for speech, that is the sound source, is generated by the larynx. So in this class, we studied about a few structures of the larynx based upon which voice is generated. From the anterior side we understood, if we see, we have the thyroid cartilage in yellow, the hyoid bone in purple, the epiglottis in red, which we cannot feel. Below the thyroid we have the cricoid cartilage in blue. If we look at the sagittal view, we see that on the cricoid cartilage we have the arytenoid cartilage, which are pyramidal cartilage, paired in green. From one of the portions of the arytenoid cartilage arises the vocal fold, which gets attached to the anterior part of the thyroid. Two strips of vocal folds. Here we have the hyoid bone and the epiglottis cartilage. To produce voice, we we push the air through the vocal folds. As the air gushes out through the vocal folds, there is a drop of pressure, and by the Bernoulli's principle, the vocal folds would be coming close together. And as the air passes, for example, let's say air is coming from this side, the vocal folds, as the air goes, the pressure drops, vocal folds come together. Now, the pathway is blocked. Again, the air pushes it apart. So, as it pushes it apart, it closes. Pushes it apart, it closes. There is a wave-like pattern which happens. This vibration is in turn amplified by the cavities above, that is the pharyngeal cavity, the oral cavity, the nasal cavity, and is articulated by the articulators for speech to reach you. This is how the bone, the cartilage, and the muscle of the larynx combine together to produce voice which is used for speech. Thank you.